What is up, everyone? Welcome to round 6, the start of the top 8 for the Portland Monthly Premodern Paper Magic Afternoons July 2025 tournament. We got 2 brand new decks to show you, so let's get into those deck lists. First up, we have Wyatt with what else but Goblins. This previous Premodern Monthly winner has definitely shown his mettle with these little green dudes, and I'm happy to say, at least I think I've mentioned it in prior videos as well, this is a list that is fully his own. Yes, he's actually invested fully into the Premodern format after finding just a ton of fun with it. Definitely noticed that a lot of long-standing modern players and legacy players have made the shift toward a Premodern for some very good reasons. Power creep definitely being among them. Anyways, back to the deck at hand. This is a pretty standard Goblins list. Looking at the main, we do have 4 Mog Fanatics, 4 Goblin Lackeys, 4 Pile Drivers, and 4 Gem Palm Incinerators, in addition to the 4 Goblin Matrons, 4 Goblin War Chiefs, 4 Goblin Ringleaders, 3 Siege Gang Commanders, 1 Skirk Prospector, 1 Goblin King, 1 Goblin Tinkerer, and 1 Goblin Sharpshooter. The only spells he's running in the main are the 2 Naturalizes, which warrant the green splash besides the sideboard cards. And for mana, he's running 8 Mountains, a Forest, 3 Wastelands, 3 Rishadan Ports, 4 Karplusan Forest, and 4 Wooded Foothills. In the sideboard, we see 3 Pyroblast, 3 Pyrokinesis, 3 Tormod's Crypt, the 3rd and 4th Naturalize, a Hull Breach, a Tranquil Domain, a little bit of spice in the 2nd Goblin Sharpshooter. We do have a decent amount of elves in this meta, and 1 Anarchy. A very solid list, a very fast list, definitely something that needs answering as early as a turn 1 Lackey. It'll be very interesting to see who his opponent is, so let's see who he's playing against. Next up is Paulie with what he's calling Survival Infestation, a brew, I think. I'm actually not sure if this is a full-blown list. I haven't actually seen it before, so this is very cool to see. Looking at it, it looks like it's part toolbox list with Survival of the Fittest and part zombie value list with Zombie Infestation. That does mean it is running 3 Squee Goblin Nabobs and 3 Kervokian Horrors, which, depending on your sequencing, can get you a mess of zombies and also just go and fetch you any other creature you may want. The deck's also running 4 Birds of Paradise to ramp you into that all-important 2 mana, 4 Wild Mongrels to also facilitate discard value, 4 Basking Rootwallas for additional discard value outlets, and speaking of discard value outlets, there's nothing better than 3 Arrogant Worms. The deck is a little light on toolbox threats in the main, running basically only Bone Shredder and Nantuko Vigilante. Beyond that, he is also running 3 Duress and 4 Cabal Therapies, taking advantage of those 2/2 zombies the infestation makes to really rip his opponent's hand to shreds. In the mana base, we have 4 Llanowar Wastes, 3 Swamps, 7 Forests, 3 City of Brass, 3 Gemstone Mine, 1 Gaia's Cradle, and 1 Diagra's Caldera. He's got an interesting selection of tokens, and in the sideboard he has 2 Firestorms, a Graveborn Muse, 3 Naturalize, 1 Tisable's Web, 1 Smother, 1 Ray Revelation, 2 Engineered Plague, the 2nd Bone Shredder, a Withered Wretch, a Masticore, and an Uktabi Orangutan. That looks like it's a slightly altered proxy. Overall, a really cool list. I'm excited to see how it plays out, especially against such an aggressive deck like Goblins. So let's get into the games. All right, we have Wyatt on the left, Paulie on the right. One thing I did forget to call out in Paulie's deck is he actually has no real main deck removal. Yes, he does have the one of Bone Shredder that he can go fetch for, but no real good answer to a turn 1 Lackey other than stalling and blocking with the Birds of Paradise. So we are in top 8, which means whoever goes first is decided by seeding. It looks like that will be Wyatt, leading off with a Skirk Prospector. Not the scariest turn 1 for Goblins, but can still be fairly explosive. Paulie, making a joke here, he prefers to play lands in front, aka really old school style. I asked him to be nice and play more traditional. Skirk Prospector here going to sacrifice himself to get a War Chief. Swing in for 2 with a very fast start. And just passing it back to Paulie, who, assuming he has a land drop, is also going to have access to 3 mana here. Can he do much with it? There's a Gemstone Mines in hand, pulled to the front, it looks like. Yes, okay. This green-black man base a little painful, but with birds and I believe he had 3 gemstone mines, shouldn't be too bad. Okay, he's gonna tap 2. Pull out a wild mongrel. And probably just saying go from there. Wild mongrel is a pretty good blocker. Oh no, there is a duress. Duress, not a very relevant card in this matchup. Literally only hits the 2 naturalizes, which is fairly relevant for Poly considering his win cons are all enchantments. But the odds of hitting one, very slim. Does give him a little bit of knowledge though about what's going on in Wyatt's hand. So all these goblins are 1 cheaper, which is pretty good when you can pay out a 2-mana tutor. What do you find? Pile driver for 1. Seems good. All your goblins do have haste. This could be a big attack. Yep, everyone's swinging in. That pile driver swinging in for an additional 4. So a 5/2 coming in. So 8 total. Does Poly just take it? Does he chump block? He could just chump block the matron. Not have to discard anything. He could chump block the war chief. Discard something to make it a profitable block, but no, it's just going to opt for the big dog pile driver. Straight up trade. Say go. Taking 3 off of the rest of that. The pile driver is definitely scary, but I think the war chief is the more long-term threat. Pile driver doesn't have trample. You can throw zombies in front of it all day, keeping your wild mongrel alive, discarding a card to get the war chief out of there. It seems like a better plan. But again, armchair calls are always easier. Okay, looks like he does have an arrogant worm as well that he could have discarded this turn to the wild mongrel. Oh, he does have another wild mongrel though. Okay, that makes a little more sense for why he was so willing to trade. And it's just gonna say go. But yeah, the value that the war chief has, okay, we're gonna fetch here, does make it a kill on sight, I feel like. Also just the fact that not only does it make your goblins 1 cheaper, the haste is the biggest thing. You can really just swing in for 1,000,000 out of nowhere, especially late game. You play this ringleader, yep. Fill your hand up with a lot of goblins. Let's see how many we hit. Another war chief, a lackey, 2 lands. 2 out of 4 is not bad. Putting those to hand. There's another pile driver. And once again, swinging in for a boatload. That pile driver now swinging 7. And again, without the war chief, this would not have been possible, so I feel like the profitable block long term was wild mongrel for the war chief, and then discarding cards so you didn't lose the wild mongrel. Now Paulie might be looking at making that trade now, but I think now at this point you're blocking the pile driver. 7 damage all by its lonesome is not something you can abide. Okay, we are going to actually block the war chief here. Going to pitch the arrogant worm. No, going to pitch a Kravokian horror. So Kravokian horror reads, if I'm remembering correctly, as long as there's a creature directly above it, you get to return to the battlefield, or to the hand. I'm actually blank. I think it is to the hand. Yes, this is the one where you can sack a creature to deal 1. Okay, gonna pass to Polly. That's no, because the wild mongrel still stayed alive. Yeah, I think, yeah, yep. Wyatt's mixing up his mongrels. Easy mistake to make. But yes, if the wild mongrel had died, the horror would come back. Okay, we're cracking the last counter on this gemstone mine. Gonna pitch the arrogant worm to the wild mongrel. Play it out for its madness cost. 4/4 for 3. Plenty good. This format. Polly is only at 5 though. Okay, there's... Yep, there's lethal, I believe. Well, actually no. Sorry. It's a war chief and taking 3? Yeah, okay, the war chief will die. The pile driver will trade, and we're gonna go to game number 2. The scoop up there happening pretty quick. Polly just not seeing a good way out. Having to block all but 2 damage seemed pretty impossible, unfortunately, with just 1 creature. Now, if he had seen a zombie infestation, he should have also gotten the Kerbokian horror back. Maybe he stalls for a bit longer there, but Goblin is just so fast. Alright, looks like Wyatt brought in some Tormod's Crypts, and Polly is going to mulligan, so we're going to cut to when he has a keepable hand. Okay, we are looking for a keepable 4 here. Yes, Polly has mulliganed 3 times already. He does have access to Engineered Plagues in the sideboard, as well as 2 Firestorms, although being so low in the mulligan makes the Firestorms a bit weaker. It looks like he is going to keep. I'm not sure what he's keeping. Yeah, Wyatt noting here that Polly does have to put 3 back. I see a zombie infestation. Maybe 2 lands. His 2 lands he's considering putting back. Zombie infestation I don't think is good unless you have Squeeze or Kerbokians. Okay, we gotta land into a birds. That's not bad. If he can level out his draws, he could still be into this. Oh no, there's a wasteland. That's a little rough. Okay, there's a land off the top though. And there's a zombie infestation. Now Wyatt saw black in game 1, which means he should bring in his other naturalizes. There's another wasteland and a Tormod's Crypt. Say go. The Tormod's Crypt definitely shutting off a lot of value. Okay, there's a Root Walla. Just hard casting it. Not discarding anything. Wyatt is having a Mountain Go. Not having a fast start here. Trying to, I think, take advantage of Polly's more painful mana base. We're going to tap for 1 here. Cabal Therapy. Naming Pile Driver, which was successful. See 2 Rashad Imports, 2 Matrons, and a Gem Palm. Wyatt paying a little bit for playing double Wasteland to start off. Now, there is definitely a temptation here from Polly to sack, naming the Matrons. that being pretty good play. Assuming he can get another threat on the field. A 1-1's definitely not going to close the game anytime soon, but taking a 2-for-1 there does seem very good. All right, we have the Incinerator played out onto the battlefield. Not too often you see that, but it can get damage through. Although it does have to be aware that Zombie Infestation can be activated at instant speed, which could be very troublesome. All right, swinging in. And there's a lackey. Say go. Nope. On your upkeep, port the release. Tap for 1 for another birds. All right. And say go. The game has officially slowed down to the point where Paulie does actually have a shot about getting back into this. Luckily for him, Wyatt does not really have anything worth putting in off of the lackey. Instead, just opting to play the Mock Fanatic. Hardcast. Not wanting to get it hit with a zombie. And surprisingly letting Paulie untap with the birds. And we're going to tap 3 here. Do we see an E-Plague? We do. That had to be one of the cards that Paulie kept. And I think, yeah, you want to shoot one of the birds here, for sure. And if Wyatt had actually shot one of the birds beforehand, that plague would have been a turn off. But such is hindsight. Definitely wanting to fanatic birds. Makes sense when your opponent only has 2 lands. Granted, you can tap down both of them currently. Play the long game, but Goblins doesn't really want to play the long game as much as Paulie's deck does. Eventually he will get incremental value out of that infestation. He just needs to find the right cards, forcing Wyatt to crack a Tormod's Crypt. Oh, and there's a naturalize too. Trying to decide if he wants to naturalize. Okay, yeah, we're gonna tap down the 2 lands. There's another Engineered Plague. There's a Cradle, tapping for 2. There's a Wild Mongrel. We're gonna hit the E-Plague here. Okay, Wild Mongrel is a real threat. Ooh, there's Siege Gang. Are we tapping out? No, almost tapping out for Siege Gang here. Gonna make a bunch of little guys, which unfortunately are not going to survive this next E-Plague. Which I have to assume is coming down. Yep, there's the second one. Granted, this is Paulie's only other one, so if Wyatt finds a way to remove it, he's back on the gravy train. Wild Mongrel gonna get in for 2. Alright. Tapping for 3. There's a War Chief. And we're just gonna swing in for 1s. Paulie's life total not getting updated on the dice. For that matter, I don't think Wyatt's life total being updated on the dice either. Hopefully that gets fixed. But both players still had a pretty healthy life total. There's a Landwar Waste. Gonna swing in for 2. Second main. Sorry, for 3. And then Madness out. The Arrogant Worm. That 4/4 is definitely going to prevent any retaliatory swings. Paulie looking very good here. Off a mulligan to 4 has fully stabilized and is now the aggressor. Back-to-back E-Plagues is pretty rough. Alright, Wyatt tapping down the cradle and one of the wastes. Trying to deny Paulie some of the mana he has. Alright, currently swinging in for 6. And Wyatt's starting to get pretty low. I'm not sure exactly what his life total is at this point, but he's at least taken 8, if not 10. Alright, there's another Wild Mongrel. Say go. And Wyatt really needing an E-Plague, did not find it. It's gonna pass. And just tapping down the cradle here. Going to leave up some mana for Siege Gang Commander, potentially. Alright, swing with the team. 8 total coming in so far. Gonna double block the Wild Mongrels. Then gonna sack the Goblin to target the Wild Mongrel. Force Paulie to discard both cards if he wants to keep it alive. Currently that Siege Gang is just a 1/1. Yep, gonna pitch a Squee, that's pretty big. There's a good Tormod's target. Oh no, actually gonna deal a full 2, yeah, so even if Paulie discards a card, would not be enough. Still gonna take 4. And pass to Wyatt's turn, and we're gonna scoop it up and go to game number 3. A very slick game number 2 there from Paulie, showing the strength of Survival of the Fittest. Even on a mulligan to 4. Actually, he didn't even play Survival of the Fittest, he just played good value, discard green-black creatures and E-Plague. Showing the real value of E-Plague, not even Survival. Sometimes the rock decks just get you out of pure value. Arrogant Worm being a real key player in that too, but the Cabal Therapy taking care of the Matrons, I think, are the real MVPs. That set up Paulie's comeback from such a tough mull. And it looks like he will be mulliganing again here as well. So we'll cut to when he has a keepable hand. Alright, Paulie looking for 6 here. Not the worst, definitely doable as we've seen. See what he's working with. Okay, we are keeping. And gonna lead off with Landwar Waste. Both players passing, both players not having a turn 1. Rashad and Port on the Landwar Waste. Please out another Landwar Waste. Now, can Wyatt play something on turn 3? He cannot. He's going to port down another waste. Opting for the slow game here, it looks like. I thought he had a Goblin Matron, but maybe not wanting to play it out. Okay, there's an Infestation. Wyatt does have a Naturalize in hand. Does he have access to the green mana? Looks like he does have a Karplusan Forest. Now, Paulie can just activate the Infestation in response. But, okay, there's a Lackey. And he is going to Naturalize. I do wonder if it makes more sense to Naturalize first, and then play out the Lackey. Just so Paulie doesn't know that you have a must-answer threat on the next turn. Unless he's trying to get value off of getting Paulie to discard cards he doesn't want to. And it looks like Paulie does not immediately have 2 cards he wants to discard to the Infestation, so deciding if this is a relevant point. You definitely do not want your opponent getting in with a Lackey. That is one of the most busted thing that the deck is trying to do, and the easiest way the game gets away from you. But it looks like he will not discard anything. The infestation will go without producing any zombies. Which is a shame, because we have not seen that activated yet. But there's a wild mongrel. One thing I do have to wonder about is the choice of Arrogant Worm over Roar the Worm. Arrogant Worm means you do have to leave some amount of mana up. It does turn on the Kervokian Horrors, but I almost wonder if that is an edge case for a Roar the Worm, which is arguably much more powerful. Alright, we are going Siege Gang here. Hard cast. Hope you do not have an Engineer Plague. Say go. Not sure exactly what's happening here. Paulie deciding if he wants to pitch some cards to the Wild Mongrel. Okay, we're tapping some mana. There's a Firestorm. Oh, I see. Okay, we're pitching a Kervokian Horror and the Arrogant Worm. Why giving this a bit of a read? Yes, it is at instant speed. Instant speed board wipe. These did come in. It is to everything. All of those goblins die. Right? Kervokian Horror getting to return. Wait, isn't Firestorm to every creature? Am I misremembering? Because, yeah, those... Unless he did it in response to the tokens entering the battlefield, which I don't think makes sense. Let me double check. Oh no, it is just X target creatures and or players. Sorry, I thought it did it to everything, so that makes sense. The goblin tokens still staying alive. Choosing to not block any of them with a Wild Mongrel. And we are going to pitch an Arrogant Worm here to get in for an additional 3 more. And Wyatt is on the back foot here. A E-Plague would basically shut the game down for him. Alright, we are going to get a bit of... Can we go 4/4? No. And there's a Naturalize that he doesn't necessarily need right now, but would really like to see. Okay, Gem Palm Incinerator for 4. Or for 3, sorry. Drawing a card off of that. The Ringleader, 3 out of 4 for a Ringleader is not bad. Then I'm going to swing in for 3, getting on the aggressive side here. Or sorry, swinging in for 4. 5, counting the 2/2 Ringleader. Yeah, going to take 3. Pass to you. And Wyatt wanting to full-on race here. Also pointing out that your life total on the dice should probably be updated. Wyatt at 14, Paulie at 16. Now, Kervokian Horror cannot return here because there is a land on top of it. Unfortunate. Alright, Arrogant Worm getting in for 4. There is a Zombie Infestation. And notably, I don't think there's a way for Paulie to fix his graveyard. So usually Skeletal Scrying is one of the best ways I've seen to remove problem cards from your graveyard to free up Kervokian Horrors. Is not running any of them. Maybe a 1 of, even a 2 of, like Contagionless. I have seen that opt for the Kervokian Horrors. Usually we'll do that. Okay, there is another Siege Gang. Let's get 3 more goblins, which Wyatt does not have tokens for. That's fine. And there's a gem palm for the worm. And Paulie is just going to scoop it up there, and Wyatt takes it down and advances to the semis. That was a pretty crazy set of 3 games. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Goblins showing exactly why they're such a powerhouse, but the Survival Infestation deck proving it's got some real legs. Very cool to see. I might have to test that out. Thanks all of you for making it this far. If you haven't yet, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Those 2 steps are the best way to support what I'm doing. If you've already been subscribed for a little while and you want to support the channel even more, consider joining the Patreon. You may notice all the wonderful patron names displayed on screen currently. These are my active patrons. As little as $1 a month gets your name up here, and it does a lot to support the channel. Money from the Patreon goes towards travel expenses, gear upgrades, like helping produce that behind the scenes Magic the Gathering video I just released on the Portland Premodern Monthly. If you haven't checked it out, make sure to do so. It's definitely a different type of video, but I hope you guys have been enjoying it. I plan to do more as I do more traveling for events. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time.